Gonna try something new. Yay! No, just briefly. Just for today, maybe. Anyway, I have to do the fire thing. I haven't done the fire thing yet, and I have to do that. You know, just got to make more out of my time. I am doing a little better physically, I think. So, I think the old Mendham will never return. But, you know, I might have some hope. There's my little pond. Needs much work. Thinking of redoing it this year, but I won't get to that. I don't think there's much hope with that. But anyway, I'm sorry, just observing it. But yeah, I do want to reclaim my area here. These are always nice bushes. I don't know where I found these. I mean, they have a very nice little flower. It's very bright and white in the spring type thing. And, you know, they just got all overgrown over the, you know, in the trees. I'm gonna top these too, I think. And I've topped that one so many times, I gotta top it again. Anyway, just knock all that down a bit. You don't even know that. Yeah, video. So I thought I'd make videos in pieces, but I'm already made way too long a video. So I have this chair here. This will be a nice sitting spot, I think. Might move it back there. Then I'll have to cut the grass. Anyway, it's broken chairs. I have to be a little careful. Anyway, I mean, look, it's just. I mean, I can't. You know, I mean, I don't want to rag on the neighbor thing again, but I just can't tell you how interesting it is to live here now without that blight. Because you actually want to come outside now. You actually want to sit in your yard. Because you don't have to listen to those fucking those monsters. Anyway, just never thought of it. I just, you know, I hadn't realized how much they had just degraded life here. So anyway, anyway, so yeah, so there's different things on my mind. Boundless Eyes made a video, and I don't want to. She doesn't watch my videos anyway, so you know, I wouldn't make a response to it. But you know, talking about the whole travel thing, and she's very excited, and that's all really great if you're into that kind of thing. But I guess that's the kind of thing where you just say, yeah, if you're into that kind of thing. It's like somebody talking about their going mountain climbing or something, and just like, oh yeah, that sounds like such cool fun. Sit in smelly tents in the cold, and you know, drudge up a mountain. You know, get altitude sickness, go through all this bullshit, look at a bunch of whatever, snow and rocks, and go, ooh, ooh. I don't know. See a bird every, you know, 3 days. I don't know. I don't get it. And traveling the world and seeing the disgusting people of the earth, I don't get that at all. Meeting the regular folk, I don't know. I mean, I did a lot of traveling when I was a kid, and, you know, as a kid, I could see some point in it because you're like, it's sort of adventurous, and then you get to go to places that you've heard of, like Disneyland or something, and that's always kind of an adventure because you're saying, wow, I'm actually at Disneyland. I saw this on TV. This is really cool. Look, all this Magic Castle stuff and fireworks and clean sidewalks and ooh, ooh, ooh. And but it wears off. You know, 10, 20 minutes, you're acclimated, and you know, it's just like now you start seeing the deficits and the flaws. And if there is something you like about a place that you go, the irritating part is that you leave, you know, and you might not return for 20 years. And yeah, I mean, there's, I just, you know, my brain just kept saying, you know, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. It just kept clicking the heels together and saying, you know, on the thought of travel that, you know, it's all a head game anyway, right? So, I mean, obviously people live in all these different places on Earth and they find them habitable even though they suck. Like London wouldn't be much of a place to say there's no place like home about, I would imagine. Just from what I've heard of London, people suck there. It's just nothing pleasant about it at all. It, you know, it just absolutely sucks. Rainy and cranky and cruddy and scuzzy. So yeah, you find a better home than that. But this idea of finding a place to call home is kind of, I get that, and I get the familiarity of it. and the maintenance of it, and the you know the it's like she was talking about leaving her cat, and it's sort of like a pet. Your location, it's something you acclimate to, and you pet, and you do all that stuff. And yeah, sometimes it pisses on the rug, and sometimes your home isn't doing you any favors. Um, the atmosphere isn't what it needs to be, as it was here with the blight. But you know, hurricanes come and blow things down, and make a mess. But whatever. Yeah, I think it just, like I said, it's life is this head game thing. So I guess I could theme this little today's videos. We'll say this little whatever amount of videos I make today, as I go through my day. I'll try to make a few videos, or video an hour every 2 hours or whatever. It's all psychology versus philosophy stuff again, and finding something to be passionate about, and something that stimulates, gets you out of bed in the morning in terms of wanting, needing, feeding, accomplishing, practicing, but you can even think of that as somebody who's striving for some goal, and let's say they'll fail at getting there. They won't win the gold medal ever and all that kind of stuff, but they're really caught up in practicing and becoming better and better every day, and they see improvement, so they see hope. And it's like I'm fiddling with flowers again this year. I'm going to try to have a garden, and put up the deer netting and try to maintain it and make sure things survive. Then I see myself investing time in this, planting little plants and stuff, and it's just kind of, in a way, it's just very, you're saying the end result is what? You look at the flower and you go, ooh, pretty flower, and then bugs are on it and eating it, and the plant's dying, or some of the, it has its own, but you're saying, yeah, you invest in it anyway, because it's like a project, and somehow you invest a piece of yourself into the project, and so it becomes important, or stimulating. It gets you interested. And I guess I would argue that much of my existence isn't really involved with other people, so that's the reason why travel would be uninteresting. You can sort of see what other places look like, and once you've been to a few, you can sort of reconstruct them in your head. You can just sim city your own imagination into the reality and say, yeah, I can get the smell, and I can get the feel, and I know what it feels like on the ocean, and the fresh air, and the this, and the, you can kind of just manufacture a moment of it and get the idea of it and say, oh yeah, okay, that'd be great for 5 minutes, and then I'd want to move on. But all I was saying is it's more like, you could say philosophy versus psychology is an important distinction. A lot of people are talking psychology on the internet and calling it philosophy, which is crap. And there's also this idea of the external world versus your internal world. Needing the world to feed you versus your own brain manufacturing the food, in terms of a fantasy. So you have reality and you have fantasy, and you have philosophy and you have psychology, as these dichotomies, or these different elements of existence, and which one you should invest in. And so I guess theoretically I would argue that the investment should be in philosophy, not psychology. And then on the psychological front, the investment should be in fantasy that's connected to reality versus reality, versus actually having to live it. You can understand it and resolve yourself to it, and then thereby cut down on the necessity of things, the extravagance of your existence, by just pretending you already have the Mercedes in the driveway, and then you don't have to worry about actually having one. You can just pretend your way through it, pretend your way past any need that you might manufacture, or that might harp at you, or come to mess with your head. You can just mess with it and say, no, I'm not going to play that. Yeah, so just looking at the trees, I was just saying, oh yeah, I got to sharpen the chainsaw blade if I'm going to cut those down. So I got to do that tonight or sometime today or something, somewhere in this future. But so I mean, I could take an environment like this and I could say this is nice. But what's the nice thing about it is that I can get comfortable with it, complacent to it, and that allows the brain then to think, to be inspired, be creative in its thinking. And so I guess that's what I was trying to get to, is that my passions have become thoughtful passions. I mean, thinking passions. Passions about perspective and understanding mechanics and dynamics of not only our existence in terms of, okay, how to be a good human. I mean, how to be a human, you could say a feeling good human, and then being a productive human would be the second adventure, and then being a human that maximizes your utility by solving problems. And that's part of being a good human, but so I don't want to, I'm not making, this isn't I'm not giving you hard philosophical perspective here. I'm just talking about this generally. So this isn't like something I'm selling as a perspective. I'm just outlining the different aspects of how I'm seeing the general categories of your life interaction. And so there is this personal part, there's this external part, and then there's this other part that's even more external in that it's purely academic in a way. It may not have any relevance to utility to the function of the human being, but it answers questions that need answering. So that's the physics part for me. I guess I was just trying to get to a point where I could give an explanation for why I have this passion about answering questions that really shouldn't even need to be answered. We know what evolution is, we know what our biology is, we know what the history of life on Earth is pretty much, and we have a diagram of it that's close enough. And so this detail stuff really doesn't matter. This universe mechanics, the physics, that stuff doesn't need to be messed with. But the only sense that it really does need to be messed with is the ironic part is that people have, like the Piros, have turned it into a religion. They've turned it into an excuse to say there's some sort of fundament in the physics that sort of has some relevance to human purpose and human dynamic and human function. And so in a way, I have an incentive to think about these universal models, in the sense that we get a nice explicit model of how the universe functions. Both. When I say universe, I'm talking about cosmolic, and nuclear. Because it's all the same universe. It's all the same energy and time. Anyway, so I went through all this stuff just to explain why I have an interest in, why I'm feeding off of thoughts about these big picture kind of thingies. Sort of big picture, but not, like I said, they're only big picture in the sense that you only have to use them to dispel nonsense. I mean, it's just sad that we have to spend so much time proving things that we shouldn't have to prove. I should not have to create a complete evidence-based theory of there's no Bugs Bunny running the universe. I mean, I really shouldn't have to construct a whole big edifice of evidence and reasoning to prove Bugs Bunny doesn't run the universe. I mean, it is irritating that so much time has to be wasted on that kind of nonsense because these people are so nonsensical. So anyway, this video went way too long. This will be a 3-hour video in one day. And really, I can't get any work done if I sit here and talk. But like I said, even talking to yourself is useful. So even if these videos were had no greater ambition, even though they do from my perspective. See, this bamboo is invaded here, so I have to get rid of that. This stuff is just horrible once it takes over. Anyway, pond life and such. I pulled some of the crud out, but it's not a lot more crud that get pulled out. Yeah, so I will see how this goes and such. I mean, it's probably too time consuming, as I've just demonstrated, because I just spent so much time doing this. I consumed a bunch of time. Instead of doing, I was talking. Here's my little asparagus patch here. I think I've cut the last of them. You can see I let a little cup get too long, blah, blah, blah. But I have to get the weeds out of there so I know where the asparaguses are. It's my little cheap greenhouse. And there's stuff doing greenery in there. Hopefully I'll be able to get something out of this. It's a little too hot, so I don't have proper temperature regulation in there. Spring beauties and such. Cat. Yeah, cat. Yeah, I'm a cat. I want attention. Yes, I do. I want to smell the camera. Alright, anyway. He really is a good cat. Yeah, she didn't like the heat yesterday, though. He's too old for hot days, I guess. So anyway. Columbine and amaryllises that didn't flower this year. Anyway. But, you know, it requires maintenance. Another greenhouse. Look at this one. This is a fancy one. Look how sophisticated it is. Yeah. I wonder if I can put a chair in there. So, I mean, this is the crap you have to do, though. It's like I can't trust that a deer won't show up during the day, so I have to put something over it, because they'll start grazing on those. So anyway. Yeah, that's enough. I don't really need to take you on a tour. That rhododendron isn't doing as well as it should be. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with it. Cut the grass, so it's very nice here. I'm going to do some digging, cutting back all the crap, get rid of the swamp they have over there, creating all kinds of water problems. So. And giant poison sumac bush growing in there. Anyway. Damn deer just decimated these roses. It's irritating. At least this one's coming back down here. I mean, these are kind of nice red ones, but the orange ones are going to have to do. The red ones they're going to have a comeback in a couple of years. Anyway, it's just, you know, when they eat thorny roses, you're just saying shit. So anyway, yeah, it's probably enough show and tell for now. Yeah, I gotta get, you know, there's poison ivy everywhere. I mean, I don't get poison ivy so I can play with it, but I just don't, you know. There's going to be a point where I do get poison ivy, right? Sooner or later, something's going to happen. I'll get poison ivy, and then I'll really be in trouble, because it is everywhere here. Not everywhere. All right, I shouldn't have said it literally. I should have said functionally, almost practically. But look at this, you know, look at this thing. Oh, look at why should I have to do this? You know, this is, you know, I shouldn't have to do this. This will be nice when you know, it's all irises in here. So that'll be nice. Anyway. But yeah, see, I'm not getting to it. Now I gotta get to it. So anyway, till later. Alright, project number 1 has been completed. Doesn't look like much though. So much, you know, monkey grass. It's a lot harder digging in here than it looks. But anyway, seeds will go in there, such. A little net over it and such. See what happens. Cat and such. Anyway, so where was I? Let's find a location. Where's that? It's just so nice up here. Yeah. Yeah, used deer netting. It's got some holes in it, but it'll work. We'll sit in the sun. Yeah. Oh, jeez, it's so nice, quiet, peaceful, beautiful, fantastic. Anyway, so I guess we're still on this like philosophy, psychology thing. It's really, 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 really important to make a distinction between some sort of personal philosophy, which essentially is just your psychology, and philosophy in the big picture subject way, where you're describing the entire function of the game. So yeah, analyzing a game from your perspective is fine, but just label it that. This is the game from my perspective, from my need configuration, the stuff that makes me feel alive or interested or good or purposeful or functional. And the general subject of what is going on in this whole biosphere and what the equation is of a person's obligations, essentially, the minimal obligations of your existence. That's a philosophical subject, describing the minimal obligations of a sentient human, of, average intelligence, let's say. And you sort of want to fulfill at least those minimums, whatever that minimum description is. You want to check that off and say, yeah, I got that job done. Seeping through the back of my brain as an idea or a concept, is this how we do evaluate, what personal preference is just such a it bleeds into so much of these conversations, and there's a difference between the fundamental need for satisfaction, the fundamental biological, like you say, we all have hunger, we all have some sort of attachment drive or sex drive or whatever you want to call that, some emotional dependency on interaction with the world or other people or something in some sort of sensual way, sensual drives, let's call them. But even hunger could be put in that category. Desire, let's just call it what it is, desire and ambitions. But see, that's the thing, it's not really just desire, it's this more complex ego crap that perhaps is more of a personal problem than a biological problem. There's no necessity for you to be ambitious beyond necessity, in a sense. I mean, yes, the biology may be creating some need to be at peace with yourself, and your conditioning might create a dependency on you acquiring it through a certain mechanism, like our food taste and our sexual preference. There's a certain narrowing, a constriction that takes place through the development of your personal sensibilities that forces you to gain your satisfaction through a certain ritual or a certain pattern of behavior. You have a cup of coffee in the morning, and you only fuck women over 5'2", whatever the rules are for your gratification. And but that's all just psychology, and one can argue that some of that psychology is mutable. Some of that psychology is mutable by perception, by perspective. That a meditation of sorts, a contemplation, can be used to reprogram your sensibilities so you acquire a refinement in your taste, or a difference or an efficiency to your dependencies and needs, where you can gain your gratification in some other manner. So I could argue for part of my life I was somewhat interested. I was never a fanatic sports fan, but I was somewhat interested in who won the game today. And through a thought process, it became repugnant for me to contemplate sports. My brain found it to be through programming, through a thought meme. My sensibilities were reconditioned where I no longer found it interesting. I found it kind of obnoxious and irritating to contemplate sports, because it just brought up this philosophical subject of addiction and silliness and frivolity and waste. And I associated my behavior with those things, and it just subtly made it easy to let go of it. And I guess we can do that with our food preferences, and sex gets a little more complicated. um, and we're always sort of in a little bit in a flow. At least I was in my life, a little bit of a never a dramatic um, a question of my orientation, but just a subtle um, changes, where I become more or less of a breast man, or more or less of a leg man, or more or less of a looking for a certain thing in a person, or a certain thing in companionship, or find certain things attractive. And it broadened and it narrowed and it broadened and it narrowed through my existence. And I guess I could argue that now I'm at a point where, yeah, it's hard to even, it's not, it's much more of a, no, there's no, you always have to be careful when you're going to talk about a subject like this, because you say something and people are going to misinterpret what you're saying. It's not like my preference is unbounded, or in some way it's not. So I don't want to imply anything like I don't have lots of narrow spots still, lots of things that are still repulsive, or no, I don't want that, or no, I'm not interested. I guess I'm just saying that I can do a lot more of the activity in my own head than in the actual physical world with somebody. So it's almost like, as long as you don't hit repulsive buttons, I almost don't need you to hit any attractive buttons. Yeah, maybe that's a suitable way to say it. So anyway, but I don't want to get on. This again, that's psychology shit. But I guess I'm just using it in the context of a philosophical subject, in the sense that's what we're faced as in philosophy, is accounting for the need of people to the stuckness of people in their regiment of their preferences, and that you can't deny those preferences' existence. You have to, you can't just say, look, just modify your brain to be a more efficient consumer. Enjoy eating rice cakes. Enjoy sex with grass, because the grass doesn't mind. You can't hurt it. You can't, you can't offend it. You can't be repulsive. So no matter what you do, no matter what your fetish is, the grass will be compliant. This kind of argument that, trying to escape the confinements of our conditioning, which is fundamentally, conditioning is fundamentally erroneous and arbitrary to any kind of function or purpose. I mean, most of our preferences don't have anything to do with anything that means anything. And many of them are thousands of years old, like, 100,000-year-old, impulse that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with anything that means anything now. But most of them, I'd say, are cultural, and most of them are controlled by marketing. And so there's this, they just don't have any substance. Our preferences, especially, food preferences, you could just argue they don't have any substance. Donuts with frosting on them, you can just come up with any way to process a pile of sugar into a thing and say this is the thing. And there's just a huge inefficiency in this, the nonsense of compliance to some arbitrary ritual of no real functionality. But again, back to the reality, which is these are kind of rigid sensibility preferences, and you're not just going to pop out of them. I'm not going to, like, it's not going to happen where I can just say, I like rap music. The only way I could ever like rap music is I'm going to have to immerse myself in it and find some value in it, and do some kind of head game, and play some kind of head game to cause some sort of positive reinforcement, some sort of way that I could find some sort of, like, this isn't obnoxious and noisy, somehow this is music and meaningful. You know, they could take centuries for me to do that. So we have to just concede that we have these personal sensibilities, and we're going to have to accept that in each other. But we're going to, in a philosophical discussion, we should be able to say, okay, let's just admit that our personal preferences are all bullshit. They're off the philosophical table as subjects. And what we really should be just talking about is what kind of humans should we be manufacturing, if we're going to manufacture them at all. That's philosophy. Everything else is psychobabble. Pretty much. So anyway. Yeah, this is just, you know, you just can't manufacture, you know, it's just very pleasant here. Yeah, I'm just enjoying the pleasantness. Yes. Just enjoying it. I'm very lucky to live here. Alright, project number 2. Reclaiming the yard here. Yeah, it's not really reclaimed yet, but it's progress. Yeah, I really have let things go. So anyway, but it's going to be very nice. Different locations from which to make videos, and I even have I used to have a nice canopy, you know, with screen, keep the mosquitoes off and such, and you know, one of those glowy things, glue it apart. But anyway, maybe I'll even put that back together somehow. It's all broken, but I'll figure out something. So anyway, that's not really important. This is going to be the longest video. I realized that this is, yeah, it's going to be a long video, as I haven't even gone to work yet. I mean, I'll be walking, but maybe I'll go for a run, so that I'll cut that down. So anyway, it's gotten cloudy, but still warm. Don't see any rain on the radar. Hopefully it will not bother me. And this chair is sinking rather substantially. Anyway, probably going to break. It's sitting out in the weather for so long. Anyway, a lot of wasps flying around here. Anyway, okay, back to the subject. Yeah, this personal, subjective versus objective philosophies. That's another way to qualify this. You could say psychology versus philosophy, or you could say objective philosophy versus subjective philosophy. You know, philosophy is based from your subjective, I don't like black people thing or something. Somebody has some sort of subjective crap, and they want to argue it as if it's real crap. And it's just a personal preference. The last racist guy I argued with, it was sort of like that. He just admitted in the end that, yeah, he just doesn't, it's all about aesthetics. And you're just like, you know, what, we're all supposed to have your aesthetics? We're supposed to have national policy based on your aesthetic preferences? That would be kind of ludicrous. So anyway, so just thinking about that, and just, you know, how people just tend to do that, though. They tend to think that their subjective pleasures or enjoyments, preferences are somehow reasonably perceived as universal. And, you know, it's just kind of silly. So you really have to just understand a human being as just a feeling thing. And it's either going to feel good or it's going to feel bad. And sometimes it's going to feel good or bad for good reason, and sometimes for not good reason. So you could argue, like, you know, some sort of fable or something about some queen or princess and the pea, or some princess and the pea, maybe that's it. I don't know, where she feels the pea under a million mattresses or something. You know, it's just basically a metaphor for high maintenance people. And, yeah, that's ridiculable. Okay, if you're high maintenance, it's not a good thing. It's like being a criminal in a way, because you have to consume more resources. So maybe you don't actually mug people on the street, but in wasting value, value is value. Anytime you waste it, it means the resources could have been expended in some more efficient way that could have made more economical people comfortable, satisfied their needs. So high maintenance is not a good thing. It's a bad thing. It's not just something that's funny or cute. You know, if you need thousands of dollars to get through a day, then yeah, you're just a big fat waste. I mean, to make one little brain happy, we have to spend thousands of dollars. I mean, there's some people probably it takes $1 million a day. They got to burn through $1 million a day to feel like they're, you know, okay. They're doing okay. It's just, what can you do but laugh? I mean, say, come on, this is silly. And again, if you're going to take this objective view of the game and recognize that it's just a bunch of horses or a bunch of seals or a bunch of dogs, and you're just saying, how do I make the most of them happy? I mean, you're not going to go and find the most extravagant and craziest, the most neurotic of the horses and say, let's do exactly what it wants to be happy, you know, and waste all the resources. You know, it only wants to eat at the very middle of a carrot. It won't eat the outside, it won't eat the end, it won't eat the tip, it'll only eat the very tiny middle and throws the rest away. This is not the horse you would feed. You know, you're not getting anything for the value. And so this, you know, this brings up economics, it brings up social policy, brings up a lot of other tangibles, but I guess the point I want to make now is just the point that you sort of have to defend extravagance in a world where it can be demonstrated that your sensibilities, oh, isn't that pretty? Oh, that's, oh, I like cedar trees. I like. All that I like stuff is arbitrary. It's not necessary, it's arbitrary. It's not rational, it's arbitrary or erroneous. It exists for no good reasons. It exists because, you know, you grew up pampered, or because you watched the wrong TV shows and you picked up some bad ambition psychology or some other kind of bullshit. But the fact that you are insatiable or that you need everything manicured and trimmed just right just makes you high maintenance and makes you wasteful in terms of just getting to the end game, which is, I am comfortable. That's all we're trying to achieve, is the I am comfortable, basically. Yeah. Again, what I really wanted to say, see, it just popped into my head that what I really wanted to do with this segment was to just talk about the fact that if you have your health, you have everything. And I really didn't end up there, did I? But that's sort of part of this conversation, is that, you know, we struggle for comfort, and sometimes we become high maintenance just because of some epistemic or biological impediment to our comfort, some misery that makes it more difficult for us to navigate existence and harder for us to find, you know, enough peace. And that does complicate the equation, because we all are, to some degree or another, broken. And when you're physically broken, not just by, you know, bad programming, it can make achieving comfort difficult. I am, most of the time, have a difficult time achieving it because I don't have a comfortable disposition, generally speaking. I'm, generally speaking, uncomfortable, anxious, tense, irritable, sickly feeling. Yeah. And so yeah, it just kind of breaks hope. You know, it just kind of gets in the way of the game play of I want, I need. Because all you're really saying, all you really want or need is peace. Anyway, so that's enough of that. you don't need very extravagant, because you're just saying, I just need to be able to take a breath in peace. So anyway, see, that's a little better now. Don't look over there, because that's not better, but this is getting better. That big pile of netting will go, and this will be cleaned up a little here, and this will be nice. This will be pleasant to be in my backyard. And see, I'm just so quiet. It's just amazing. Come outside and you can just sit. It's quiet. I'm so liking this. Anyway, till next time. Alright, hi-ho. Yes, it's off to the adventure I go. Gotta plant these seeds before it rains tonight. Anyway, yeah. Okay, finishing up. So I'm running out of time anyway. I'm gonna try to jog with a bucket of tar. Damn. Yeah, it's gonna be a little tricky. But we'll see how it goes. I don't really have an option. I need to take tools with me to work. Oh, I forgot the damn stupid... Yeah, I have to go back. Alright, anyway, forgot a tool. Anyway, it's a good thing I said tools, because, I would have forgot it, and I would have had to do it another day. Yeah, big deal. Anyway, so what do I want to get to? I sort of wanted to get to the big finishing issue of perception and what we really is necessary. So I've sort of made this argument before. I think it's a kind of a good argument. All I have to do is configure a class of human being. I could put together a group, fat, the wrong ethnicity, them people. A little scraper blade. It's just old and rusty, but does come in handy for weed removal and such. Man, I really don't want to put it in. It's kind of ugly in there, tar. Ew. Anyway, I have to carry it separately. Guess I should have wore the backpack or something. I don't know. No, whatever, doesn't matter. Anyway, sorry. I thought I was ready, and it just turned out I wasn't. So anyway, are we recording? Yeah, too bad. I'm not starting over. I could start over. I really could. But then you wouldn't have the benefit of me saying I could start over. So I'm not going to. I'm sorry for the wasted 2 minutes, sorry. I think it's 2 minutes. Yeah, 2 minutes exactly. That's a pretty good guess. Anyway, okay. So let's say if I configured a bunch of human beings, just the dregs of society, of all cultures, and put them in a spaceship, and the idea was that we were going to shoot these human beings into space to populate the universe. Come on, you would be like, not with my money, I don't support that. You wouldn't want to start a colony on Mars of the wrong race, the wrong kind of people. No, you want the right kind of people to go there and start the new colony. I think you do. I mean, you can say otherwise, but I think that's the truth. I don't think you want the dregs of society to go populate a planet and create another idiocracy. So anyway, so yeah, if you were not going to do it, if you can't support the existence of the worst of us, in terms of populating a planet, then you really got no business supporting any of us, because the worst of us will be part of it, inevitably, and it does tend to, quite obviously, go in that direction. Idiocracy and all. It just seems like that's the blueprint. So, but anyway, the point I wanted to make was, even if you still say it's a good idea, you only think it's a good idea because of a perception in your head. You don't think it's a good idea because there's some sort of rational calculation, some sort of, math or logic that says, oh yes, this is a good idea for sure. It just doesn't exist. You have to come up with some kind of subjective, internal perception of need, because the need isn't immediate. And I've sort of made this argument, like somebody perfectly comfortable, mostly comfortable, but who just really would love an ice cream cone, just to make it all that much better. And somebody in horrible pain, agonizing pain, big giant thorn in their nuts or something, it seems quite obvious which one you would say is more immediate concern. The person in horrible pain and not the person who needs the ice cream cone. And pretty much your perception that there needs to be humans, at best, is an ice cream cone kind of need. It's not a, like, oh, I'm so desperate. Oh, I'll be so horribly in pain if they don't exist in the future. Oh, lament, lament, horror, horror. I mean, it's really, you just can't make it into cancer, okay? I mean, facing the reality that humans aren't going to exist a year from now, let's say, because a meteor's coming, you'd immediately say, oh shit, my life is over. And you'd worry about how you're going to die. You really wouldn't. It would be a minor concern that humanity will be wiped out. No, your concern is going to be your kids and your family and your friends and all that kind of stuff, and how they're going to, whether they're going to be able to buck up and ride the tornado into the end, kind of thing. That would be the focus of your concern. Come on. So let's quit pretending that this notion in people's heads that the human race is accomplishing something or doing something necessary or is vitally important that we preserve the human being. Let's not pretend that that's anything more than a subjective desire based on subjective attachments, and has nothing to do with any rationally discernible imperative, any logically cognizable obligation and duty, or it must be. Just, you can't. It's nonsense. You can't do it with rational philosophy. You can only do it with subjective rationalizations, defending some sort of personal problem you have in terms of ego and identification with the wonderful red, white, and blue flag or something. I guess that could be another analogy. I guess some people would be like, if we had to draw, if we all agreed, the whole international community, to abolish nationhood, one nation at a time, just so we get out of this whole myopic personal diversity problem that's creating all this war potential. So let's just say they come up with this idea. Okay, we're just going to do one country a year. Just going to get rid of it. Just, make it join some other country. And and so we do it randomly to be fair. And the USA is the first one drawn out. Yeah, and it has to become Canada. There will be people that be just like, oh, the world can't exist without the United States of America. Yeah, and it's just like, why can't it? Yeah, it can. It's just not important. It's only your pride and your gooey feeling when you see the old flag flying. It's just crap. It's just psychological crap. And we gotta quit letting that define philosophy and define social policy. That's what we gotta do. I mean, man, they really fucked this up. I gotta get that over there, over here, and fix this damn thing. Because the amateurs are making a mess. Ugh. All right. Anyway. So, yeah, I think that's probably sews it all up. I think. Let's see if we have anything on the way home. And I'll add that as required. I really don't think I'm going to be able to run with this stuff, though. So I probably could keep talking, but I won't because, maybe I'm done. Okay, anyway. I'll save some for later. I don't have much memory left anyway. It really is going to be an hour of video. Yeah. Got 9 minutes left. Yeah. Alright, I'll save that for later. So, till later. Alright. I think we'll sum up. Yeah, I think. But actually, it's probably one more video because, yeah, the evening's nice. Maybe a twilight video. Be a good idea. So yeah, maybe I should just cut this one out. Maybe something to add. Oh, sorry about the stick. Yeah, just that we have to do this grinding through life and try to be satisfied. You know, but you gotta do work and you gotta endure pain. You gotta watch stuff die. Yeah. 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 And that's just not good news there. Anyway, so yeah, we should take a pass on making more of a mess. Got enough mess in front of you to take care of. Don't need to be making more mess makers. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, till maybe later. We'll